USP Florence. I stood 5'8", 150 pounds at 19 years old. I was over 1,000 miles away from my hometown, from my city, from my relatives and loved ones. I remember going through the crash gates in USP Florence on the bus, surrounded by what seemed like giants to me at the time, all covered up in tattoos. I was the smallest guy on that bus. And I remember going through 10 different crash gates, and each crash gate was about 30 feet high, 20 to 30 feet high, with barbed wires all over the place, in the middle of the desert. And I just remember the song, "The Wheels in the Sky Keep on Turning," playing on the radio. And I really felt like I was never gonna make it home again. That I would never get to see none of my loved ones, my relatives, or nothing. Those thoughts, those fears increased when we got there in the bus stop. And that officer gave everybody a warning that if you ran with this gang or that gang, and he said the names, or if you had a 401k on your record, which that is collaborating with law enforcement, a snitch, not to get off the bus or you would get killed. None of those applied to me, so I willfully stood up and walked out of the bus, feeling light as a feather. Went through the whole orientation process. During one of the orientation questions, they asked me, where would you like your body to get sent to in the event you should happen to be murdered in the camp, on the grounds? I didn't know what to say. I was like, that's a hard, tough question to ask. I'm not sure. So I left it blank. I answered it later on. They took me to get a shot. They said it was a tetanus shot. I was like, what's this shot for? What do I need a tetanus shot for? Well, that's in case you get stabbed by one of the rusty metals. You know, there's a lot of stabbings in USP Florence, and, you know, we wouldn't want you to die from rust poisoning. I was like, all right. So I remember walking outside into the prison itself, to the grounds. And this is USP Florence, Colorado, by the Rocky Mountains. I stepped out, it was about 10, 11 at night. And I just remember smelling the tiniest pine smell that I've ever smelled in my life. And I can taste the air. It was clean, it was fresh. It's an experience to this day I've never forgotten. And I kept thinking to myself, smiling the whole way to my unit, like, wow, I've never tasted and smelled air this clean, this fresh, this piney. That actually wears off while you're on the prison and you get used to the smell and everything. But that first day, I won't forget it. So I get to my cell, and with it, the USP Florence had just had a major riot where a lot of the Aryan Brotherhoods, which is a white prison gang, had took a lot of the black prisoners to war. It was Hitler's birthday, and they were turned up on moonshine, homemade white lightning, as they called it. So they got turned up and celebrated Hitler's birthday with a shank party. And they went after all the blacks. And it's a true story now. So I was getting there like on the last couple of days of lockdown. There was a little Mexican dude, Fox. He was a Sureño from California. It was my celly. But he put me up on game on how everything ran, where I can find my people at. You see, because the gang that I ran with was on the yard. Florence, Colorado was a high maximum security prison, which is a gang yard. Nobody that walks USP Florence can not be affiliated with a gang. You have to ride with somebody, or else you ain't walking on that yard, you know? So he lacing me up on everything. A couple days later, they pop open the gates. All the cells opened up. The guards opened them up one by one and let everybody out. You know, and it was chow time. We had just had breakfast already, but it was chow time when we first got out the yard. And I'm walking to the chow hall, and there's some brothers out there waiting for me, some of my homeboys. They had already got the kite somehow. You know, prison works in mysterious ways sometimes. But they hollered at me and they say, "Hey, what's up, brother? You Jay?" I was like, "Yup." So we shook up, you know, it was all my brothers, there's 3 of them. And we were waiting for a few more. We waited for the other ones that came. It was a total of 7 of us. And that's the only number that we had, which was probably the smallest number for a gang on the yard. So we walked to the chow hall, and the homies putting me up on everything, you know, a little bit, we catching up somewhat. So when we get to the chow hall, we all in line getting our stuff. As soon as I'm about to sit down at my table, I hear a commotion, like boom, boom, boom. And I turn around and I see a dude thrown on the floor with blood gushing out of his neck. You know, and he's twitching and swirling all over the floor. True story now. And I'm in shock. I'm like, damn, this is right behind me. So I'm like staring too much at the whole situation, like, damn, what the? My brother grabs me and sits me down and he said, "Eat your fucking food. Don't pay attention to that, man. It ain't got nothing to do with us." So we just ate, and all the brothers sitting there. I look around like low key looking around, just peeping game. Nobody's paying attention to this guy thrown on the floor, squirming around. It took what seemed like 5 minutes for the COs to even notice that there was a dude thrown bleak on the floor. All of a sudden, man down, man down. So they're rushing in to take him out. COs, lock it down. And they're screaming and yelling and hollering. They're coming to take this dude. They're taking him on a stretcher, putting him out of the chow hall. And everybody ignoring everything the CO's saying. Everybody just going about their business, eating like nothing happened, bro. So I do the same thing, you know, I just pay no mind. But that's just one of the many murders that I witnessed at USP Florence. Came close to a couple of murders myself, and came close to being murdered once myself in there. That was my introduction to USP Florence, Colorado.
What?